I want to welcome you to our annual State of the City Luncheon. I'm Brittany Timmons, President CEO of the Guthrie Chamber. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day, and we look forward to this event every year. We've got some changes in leadership here in the city, so exciting to hear from them and the team for sure. First of all, I would love to thank Bank First. Everyone give Bank First a round of applause. Yes. Thank you to Bank First for being our event sponsor today. We have Tina and Julie here representing the bank today. And if you don't know already, Bank First is a wonderful community partner. First bank in Guthrie. They absolutely love the community. It shows. They try to put their name on as much as they can. They volunteer for things. They're an amazing group. So super grateful to have Bank First as our partner and sponsor for today. I also would like to thank Meridian Technology, Scott, campus director, and Victoria and the team, and Dr. Major. I saw him somewhere. Yeah. Oh, I'm looking right past you. Hi, Dr. Major. Yes, thank you so much to our friends at Meridian Tech for once again allowing us to use their amazing space. As I always like to say, be sure to check out their website and their short courses they have to offer. They've got some lunch and learns planned for 2024. And of course, if you need something for your business as far as a space or you need some training, things like that, reach out to Meridian. They're a wonderful resource that we have right here in Guthrie, and we are very, very grateful for their partnership. So, all right, with that being said, I'm finished talking. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Chris Evans with Guthrie News Page. Chris is the Guthrie Chamber Legislative Chair. So anytime we do luncheons like this, Chris is my go-to right-hand man, literally. And so I'm going to turn it over to Chris to moderate and to introduce our speakers for today.
Thanks for coming today for the State of the City. As we all know, we have brought in a new city manager here, Eddie Faulkner. And I'm just so thrilled of his leadership skills already at such a young age. He just continues to do great things.
Thank you, Chris.
Absolutely. His microphone's off on purpose. I knew that, so I can get my young joke in there right off the bat. But he has come in and done a fantastic job. Credit to the City Council for bringing in Eddie. And you guys will, if you haven't heard him yet, you'll be just floored of how great he does things for our city. And of course, it always helped that we have some great staff around to help Eddie come in and really hitting things right off. So welcome to Guthrie, Eddie.
Thank you, Chris. Wow.
Okay, we're going to get started here today. I would like to, we'll start off the State of the City with our mayor, Steve Gintley.
I'd like to kind of do what I call a view from 10,000 feet of our community, if you would, for a few minutes. So this is my view of Guthrie, America from 10,000 feet. I see a significant geographic city limit footprint which allows for many residential and commercial space expansion opportunities. A city that has room to grow. I see a very strategic location at the intersection of I-35 corridor, one of the busiest north-south corridors in the United States, and the highly traveled regional Highway 33. I see immediate access to a rail system that has potential for passenger as well as freight. And the largest community in the third largest, fastest growing county in Oklahoma. I see a highly regarded public education system providing a safe and quality educational environment as well as an outstanding extracurricular opportunities for our children. A magnificent Meridian Technology Center for continuing adult education and close access to Langston University and the University of Central Oklahoma. I see a coordinated healthcare system with Mercy Regional Rural Hospital, one of the top, it's in the group of the top 20 rural hospitals in America as a hub, and multiple primary care and clinic offices feeding into 2 world-class specialty regional systems just 15 minutes down the road. And a high-quality, locally owned and operated assisted living and long-term care medical complex. I see a community with upper-tier fire and safety environment, achieving an excellent property insurance rating which mirrors the quality and responsiveness of the fire service and the excellent award-winning police department. I see a historical setting of buildings, including the largest contiguous historic district in the United States. Buildings like the largest Masonic temple in America, First Carnegie Library in the state, adjacent Territorial Museum, Frontier Drugstore Museum, Oklahoma Sports Museum, and that's just one street of our community. I see a community, city-owned, jet-capable airport with over 120 airplanes. I see a community vibrancy that's reflected in the festival for every season. It's really a festival seemingly for every week, and a priceless energy level of citizens and merchants who want to do great things for our community. I mean, what other community of our size has 30, 40, 50 people show up every Wednesday for a chamber coffee, hear what's going on, and want to be involved? I mean, really. A community culture showing daily in community leadership and those citizen spark plugs who live the words that were imprinted on 300 students of Cotterill Elementary School yesterday for their dedication of a new Cotterill school. And the 3 words that were imprinted on 300 t-shirts of those students: dream, believe, achieve. I see a green space bonanza of 8 parks, 2 lakes, great tennis and basketball courts, a rodeo arena, disc golf course, horse trails, many, many walking trails. I see national accolades being given, such as Most Beautiful Small Town in Oklahoma by Oklahoma Living Magazine, One of the Best Places to Retire by AARP, One of the Best 35 Small Towns in America by Southern Living Magazine, the Christmas Capital of the State by HGTV, Top 5 Neighborhoods in America by the American Association of City Planners, a city that has achieved designations such as a Tree City, a Garden City, a Purple Heart City. All of this in 2 wonderful local media sources, both print and electronic. So I ask you, kind of rhetorically, how many communities of 12,000 population would love to have this kind of resource? And I answer that, all of them. All communities would love to have what we have here in Guthrie, America. But let's not forget, let's be prideful of what we have. Also, let us never stop reaching for that next rung on our ladder of achievement. So that's my view from 10,000 feet. Now let's turn it over to those that have their boots on the ground right over here, movers and shakers, the professionals who, along with many, many community partners, make us what I refer to as Team Guthrie. Eddie, I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Wow. Chris, thank you for the great introduction. He way oversold me. I cannot guarantee that any of the things he told you were true, although I didn't pay for that. It was a free endorsement. So thank you for attending the State of the City. As you have noticed, I've got a couple of folks up here with me, and the reason for that is what we do at the City of Guthrie is not done in my office. I am not the end-all, be-all of the City of Guthrie. So what happens, we have over 100 employees, all of which are working on a daily basis to provide the services that we do. And that's why you've got Fire Chief Dane Lawson, Police Chief Don Swider, Tourism and Community Development Justin Fortney. These guys, along with the rest of the team, support me to give you the service you expect. Take a quick look here at our City Council. City Council is comprised of 7 members. 6 of those members represent 3 wards. So you have 3 city council wards, 2 members from each ward, and then the mayor's position is an at-large position. So those folks are up there. Do want to recognize the council members who are here. Of course, Mayor Steve Gentling, Vice Mayor Grant McGeary, Councilman Adam Robb. Thank you guys for attending. City Council works hard, and they make tough decisions in and out, a lot of which are behind the scenes, and folks don't see the great length and the sacrifice that your council members are going through to show up for 2 meetings a month that are an hour long apiece. There's a lot of work on the back end. So signing up to be a city council member, we don't have a ton of folks looking to do that, so we do appreciate the ones who are. Take a look at Guthrie at a glance. So in area, Guthrie makes up approximately 20 square miles of Logan County. Inside the incorporated area, we have approximately 12 residents, which is growing leaps and bounds. For example, most of you are local to Guthrie, and you're well aware we've been a population of 10,000 for a long time, pretty much since inception. That's changing. We're seeing some growth. City of Guthrie has 130 full-time employees, 8 part-time employees, over 12 departments, approximately 3,700 utility customers. So of that 12,000, 3,700 of them have water, sewer, or trash service with the City of Guthrie. And it could be any combination of the 3. Fiscal year 24 budget is approximately $61 million, which includes interfund transfers between Guthrie Public Works Authority, the City of Guthrie, Guthrie Edmond Regional Airport, Guthrie Economic Development Authority, and the Guthrie Industrial Authority. Take a quick look here at our financials, facts and figures. As you can see, our sales tax from fiscal year 2017 to fiscal year 2023 has grown substantially. Year over year, the last 3 years, we've seen a $700,000 increase, which is great. That's great for the infrastructure needs that this community has. It's great for the upgrades and the things we're looking forward to as the growth comes. We all know as economic development happens, there are unintended consequences, and there are ties that are with that. Taking a look at our use tax collections. Use tax is sales tax for online sales. So when you purchase on Amazon, for example, the sales tax collected is filed under a use tax collection. That has grown leaps and bounds. So if you'll take a look back to fiscal year 2017, the City of Guthrie was collecting approximately $300,000, $330,000. Fiscal year 23, we're at $1.2 million. So that's huge. That's huge for rural communities in Oklahoma. Taking just an important step here, if you'll look at fiscal year 2018 to fiscal year 2019, huge jump in revenue there. U.S. Supreme Court case versus popular company Wayfair. The ruling that was found in that case is that large companies, folks who did not have a physical presence in our community, if they sold goods in our community, they are still responsible for reporting use tax to this community. In addition to that, also the state as well. So, take a look at fiscal year 23 grant funding. Several projects, and I want to emphasize the work of the staff. Grant funding in this community, this staff works harder than any staff I've ever seen when it comes to grant writing, grant applications, and also grant approval. So just a brief overview here. These are the projects that are planned. Of $7.2 million in projects, $4.1 million are grant funds. So talk about taking your dollar and matching that. So dollar for dollar, almost 1.5 times. That's how we're getting projects done in the City of Guthrie. That's huge. I think the staff deserves a round of applause for that. That's huge. Diving into sales tax just a little bit deeper so you can understand where those dollars are coming from. City of Guthrie has a 3.75% of your total 9% sales tax rate. That breaks down as follows. 2% goes to general fund operations, 1% to the Public Works Authority, water, sewer, 3/4 to capital improvement projects. Logan County has 0.75%, of course, 1/4 to jail operations, 1/4 to roads, and 1/4 to rural fire departments. And the state of Oklahoma has 4.5% of the sales tax. That's where you get your total 9% sales tax here in the city of Guthrie. In comparison, how does that look to our surrounding communities? City of Guthrie has a 9% sales tax rate with a 12,000 population. If you take a look at municipalities around the Oklahoma City metro area, you'll see some municipalities are over 9%, some are under. However, many municipalities are leaning towards a 10% sales tax rate. And the reason for that is infrastructure needs and growing needs of the community as it happens. I'm not here to pitch a sales tax increase to you. We're not looking at that at any point in the future. Just want to give you some perspective of the 9% in Guthrie versus the 10.2% approximately in Drumright or the 10% in Blanchard. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Don Swager to talk about public safety.
I'm excited to be here. I hope you all are too. At least you're getting to eat. I got to wait. So the police department is made up of communications, animal control, criminal investigation, victim advocacy, and our school resource officers. One thing I think a lot of people don't understand is under that communications piece, we at the Guthrie Police Department, we take in every 911 call that comes in Logan County. A lot of people are under the impression that the sheriff's office does that, and it's never been the case. Since 911 came to Logan County, the police department has always answered it. On top of that, we dispatch for 12 fire departments inside the county, 4 police departments inside the county, 1 EMS, and 3 animal control districts. So you can imagine it stays very busy in there. I'm sure you see on Facebook sometimes where people complain that 911 wasn't picked up on the first ring. It took 2 rings. Man, the growth in this county drives what happens in the 911 center every day. We've been very proactive about it. We've expanded it, and we are adding personnel to meet the growth demand. This year, we responded to 24,000 roughly calls for service. I compared that to 2016, where we had roughly 24,000 calls for service. A lot of people would expect that to go up. One of the things that we've had is, you'll notice at the bottom of the slide, we have 5 police officer openings. In 2016, we had 1. So essentially, we are doing the same amount of work with 4 less people every day. And that is not the city's fault. That is not anybody's fault, other than it is a hard time to hire anybody right now, let alone hire police officers. And I'm sure you watch the news, you can understand why sometimes. So where that hurts is some of the proactive stuff we do, like people calling in wanting us to come patrol their neighborhoods for speed or running stop signs or stuff like that. They sometimes don't understand that it takes a little while to get there, because traffic complaints are very important to us. We have too many accidents in town. You can see by the number up here. But in the grand scheme of things, you have to prioritize your calls. So burglaries, right, are more important than speeding. Arson, rape, robbery, murder. Thank God we don't have a bunch of any of those. But all those calls where it's a crime against a person comes before traffic. So if you complain that we're a little bit slow answering those traffic calls, I promise you we will get there. It just won't be as fast as you want. And trust me, it is not nearly as fast as I want. 7,600 traffic stops. According to Facebook, that's where the city makes all the money in the world to fund itself.
That is not the case.
That is not the case. We stop a lot of people. We write probably 5 or 6 warnings for every 1 traffic citation that we issue. And if you come up and look at us, that money that's generated by citations is negligible at best. That is a true statement. 255 traffic accidents. We get a grant. We've gotten a grant for about 3 years now from the Oklahoma Highway Safety Office to help us They help identify the hot spots and the times of the day where some of these happen. So they pay instead of you paying for overtime for my officers to come in and work that. It's a great thing. It's a non-match. Doesn't cost anything out of the city's budget other than I got to find people to come in on a non-scheduled time to come in and work those areas. I'm sure you see some of them out there and they work really hard. So slow down. 1,600 animal control calls. Again, that's a lot for this side of town, but it is what it is. We're rural, so we get a lot of creatures that are run over in the middle of the road, or breaking into dog food containers, cat food containers, trash cans. So we handle a lot of it. And then 7,000 calls for SROs. Holy crap, that is a lot that they're doing out there every day. So just because they're kind of out of sight, out of mind, don't think that nothing's going on out there. And that is only for the 3 full-time SROs that we have. That is not for the SROs hired independently by the school to put in other buildings. Okay, so a lot happens out there all the time. And then we get to victim advocacy. A lot of people early on wanted to know what this had to do with the police department. Trust me, it's everything to do with the police department. We originally applied for a grant 7 years ago and got the very first embedded police officer as a victim advocate in the state. Since then, we've been copied time and time again, and we are happy for that. It was so successful, we added a civilian victim advocate, so we've got 2, and then we've added our canine victim advocate, which is probably the highlight of the show. Nobody wants to hear or see me, they want to pet the dang dog. And I'll tell you, it's the highlight of my morning when the dog comes in. So victim advocacy, we lose a lot of cases because victims don't follow through. Right? They're very intimidated by the criminal justice system. They're very intimidated by the lawyers. They're intimidated by an ex-spouse, a current spouse, something like that. The victim advocate's job is to go and not to downplay it, but to hold their hand all the way through and explain this stuff to them. If they need resources, get them for them. And the good thing is since we did this 7 years ago, the city has paid for very little. Originally, the District Attorney's Council paid for both of them, both of our advocates. Now the District Attorney's Council pays for one, and we partnered with the Iowa Tribe of Oklahoma to pay for our civilian advocate for 5 years. That is a chunk of money that does not come out of your pocket, and really, I hope none of you are victims of crimes, but if you're a victim of crime, it makes all the difference in the world.
For those of you that don't know me, my name is Dane Lawson. I've been with Guthrie Fire Department for 15 years now. When Chief Harlow put in his retirement paperwork in May, this wasn't necessarily something I wanted to go after, but with the turnover of a new city manager and a fire chief, that's a significant change in the city of Guthrie. And after talking to my wife, it was something I really wanted to go after, and thankfully after the process, I was selected. I was born and raised here in Guthrie, graduated in 2006. I'm married to my wife Sarah, and we have 2 boys. So to get on with the fire department stuff, we have currently 31 employees, that's counting myself. We cover not only fire, but we cover EMS as well. Our EMS is covering over 500 square miles. That is a lot, especially whenever you put into perspective that Oklahoma City, they cover 600 square miles, and we're not obviously as busy as they are, but just to give you an idea of how much square mileage we actually cover. I mean, we're going all the way to Waterloo, up to 51. We had an ambulance call the other day in Wellston. So that is, our EMS the money's brought in from a millage, property millage, and we take that millage and we also get to bill our ambulance runs, which also funds most of our salaries for our department. It pays for about half of the salaries for our department. Last year we ran 3,987 calls, so roughly 4,000. This has increased since 2016, whenever we ran 2,972. So we're averaging about a 259 call increase per year, which is really significant whenever you consider the fact we're doing it with the same manpower We did just increase to 3 people in April. Right now, we're running about 150 calls per person at our department. You've got a normal department just that surrounds us that usually run about 88 calls per man. So our guys they're busy and they get the job done, and I'm very humbled and I'm proud of them for what they do day in and day out to improvise, to get our calls taken care of. They do a fantastic job, and I couldn't be more proud. So in city limits, our average response time is a little over 3 minutes. That can be thrown off just a little bit because whenever you have a fire call, it obviously takes us a little bit more time to go out to the bay and get dressed and get our bunker gear on and all our protection gear. So that number is still a very good number when you consider by the time we get the 911 call at dispatch and then to dispatch to us and us to get to the scene, that's pretty good. And then as you can see in our average response time outside the city limits, it's a little over 11 minutes. Just like I mentioned not too long ago that we responded to Wellston, that was a 34-minute response time. So 11 minutes for outside city limits, I will take that. And that is just out of one station centrally located here in the heart of town. We ran 523 fire incidents and then 2,700 EMS related incidents. We had started this year, we've been working with the billing team since I took over. We had to look at increasing rates with our EMS service. Basically what we did was take 2 departments that were similar to us running EMS, and we compared them to the rates that we had. And basically what we did was we were behind both of them. So what we did was we split the middle, and just it's not a punishment to the residents that we serve. It was just a need. Whenever you consider the cost of a new ambulance bumper to bumper, it's $417,000. In 2020, we bought 2 ambulances, and they were $220,000 a piece. And we have a board member on our EMS district here today that can speak to the truth of that because he has seen the paperwork. So that was not a punishment to the people we serve. It was just a need to keep our service going efficiently. My second day, we had 4 out of the 5 ambulances break down. 2 of them are over 220,000 miles. The city came up with some funding to get us an ambulance in October.
August, yes sir.
August, and we are using that to transport patients out of Mercy Logan. We run about 360 transfers out of there a year. That ambulance it's a transport van. It's going to be used to stay on the pavement as much as possible. If we get in a bind coming back from the city on a transfer and we have to take a 911 call, we will do it. But that ambulance was much needed, very much appreciated. And I think since August we've put about 6,000 miles on it already. So that ambulance is taking a lot of pressure off of our frontline apparatuses. And so it's been a good purchase. We also started a subscription fee. It is totally optional. It is anybody that lives within our EMS district, you have the option of paying $100. It is good from January to January. If we are to transport someone to the hospital and they're on the subscription fee, we will just bill the insurance. So it's something that we're looking at to help increase our revenue some. Cost of a new stretcher even today is $40,000. 3 years ago they were around 19. So we've increased revenue. We're trying to get the subscription fee to take off, just to help, with those increased costs.
Awesome, thank you, Chief. Now we'll turn it over to Justin Fortney to give us an overview of tourism and community development.
I'm happy to be the employee who replaced Justin Fortney on this panel. A joke about a tie and no hat. I know some of you are curious about who I was. Any conversation about direct services for tourism in Guthrie has to start with the funding source, which is the lodging tax. 2022, Guthrie voters voted to increase that lodging tax from 4% to 7%. That initial 4% was broken down to about 2/3 towards tourism, 1/3 towards parks, and when it was increased to 7%, the additional 3% was allocated directly towards maintenance and upkeep of sports facilities. So that was in 2022. Looking at that revenue from 2017 up until this previous year, you can kind of see on the chart above my head, there was the dark year of 2020 that tourism and travel industry would like to just forget that year ever happened. It was pretty abysmal for the hotel industry across the nation, and Guthrie was no outlier with that. But you can see that our community in the lodging industry bounced back fairly quickly from 2020. And then with our first full fiscal year with that additional 3% lodging tax, you can see what that's done in this past fiscal year of 2023. I will say, even if you take out that additional 3%, we were still looking at probably our highest revenue year in Guthrie's history. Just even if we didn't have that additional 3%, that amount going towards tourism and parks, we've surpassed that previous banner year of 2018. When it comes to the functions of the tourism office in Guthrie, one of the roles that we've taken on over the last 5 or 6 years has been like a liaison office for filmmaking. Long before I was around here, even back into the 80s, I think it's when Guthrie started to become a hub for filmmaking. Even back, Dustin Hoffman and Rayman were hanging out in Guthrie. Ever since then, filmmaking has been an economic driver in our community. One of the busiest years since I've been here, I think there was one year when we permitted 13 or 14 films within one single year. Now, something really interesting happened in fiscal year 23, which was we only permitted 3 productions in the city limits of Guthrie in FY 23. And the main reason that it was one of the worst years ever for filmmaking was that the strikes occurred, and that shut things down almost entirely, not just in Guthrie, but around the country. Going back to the beginning of the year, in January and February of 23, based on the number of phone calls we were getting from location managers and producers, it felt like it was shaping up to be a really fantastic year for filmmaking here. I always get nervous talking about filmmaking when like Kara and Adam are back there. If I get stuff wrong, just let me know. But the amount of requests we were getting for, hey, we're looking for this, looking for that, looking for this, back in January, I was like, wow, this is going to be a really, really busy year. And then 2 things happened. The strikes happened, and also there's been so much interest in filming in Oklahoma over the last couple of years, and that depends so much on the state film incentive, like funding from our state legislature. With so much interest, even an increased pot of money just dried up fast. And so there were so many productions that were interested in Guthrie, interested in Oklahoma, that we're not able to access that pot of money for an incentive rebate. And when that happens, they go to another state. They don't just go, they don't just suck it up and say, it won't make us much money. They just leave and go somewhere else and make their movie. So that was That was the film story in FY23. Those strikes are over now, and so we're starting to see how that's going to ramp back up. So I'm really hopeful for FY24 and what the film industry is going to be able to do. One caveat to that is that 7 years ago, the City of Guthrie was a film hub, and we understood how important that economic driver was to our community. And in terms of the other small towns in Oklahoma, nobody got scared. Like, oh, filmmaking, whatever. And now every other small town has figured it out. And so they've all learned, hey, we can bring money into our community with filmmaking. And so now we're not just fighting is the wrong word. We're all friends. We're not just competing against Oklahoma City or Tulsa. Every town in Oklahoma has realized that the revenue to our communities can be bolstered with this really fantastic industry. So we just got to work harder, and we will. Another main role of the tourism department with the City of Guthrie is just supporting our local events, our local festivals. And we've got these fantastic legacy events, 89ers, Territorial Christmas, Bluegrass, Road Celebration. These are events that have been here for decades and decades. And what's really fantastic, especially looking at them this year, these legacy events, where in other communities, events that have been around for ages and ages, they get kind of tired and they start to dwindle. This has been a fantastic banner year for these legacy events. Look at, especially like just this past couple weeks, Territorial Christmas event had one of their best years ever. And so that is an incredible positive for FY23. But then you add in, over the last 7 or 8 years, we've added to these major events. Our community's added these volunteers and businesses. Been 7 or 8, 9, like really major events that have been added to the calendar in Guthrie, where what the mayor said is true. It's like you just feels like you're rolling in from one festival to another. More Christmas events, Red Brick Nights, a wine festival. Midwest Lift Fest had their best year ever this year. And we keep adding these events. And so I will say that even though the tourism office is the direct service provider to helping these events with their coordination and logistics, every city department is really part of the tourism department with the City of Guthrie. These events don't happen without police, fire, public works. All the departments play an unbelievable role in just making these events function smoothly behind the scenes. But primarily the volunteers and businesses that are putting these events on, it's mind-boggling how much work and how many people for a town of 12,000 people are involved in these growing number of events and festivals we have here in Guthrie.
Rolling right into one of my favorite subjects, which is planning. I'm a former city planner, and so I enjoy talking about planning, whereas most people don't delight. Yeah. City planner Dan Kasich was happy to hear me say that. So, looking ahead, many of you have heard we do have over 800 platted single-family homes in city limits, which is exponential growth and any amount of time for a community. So that's huge. Those 800 homes are made up of 4 residential subdivisions, your typical type of subdivision, just as you would see Mission Hills right out the door here. One of the other exciting programs we're looking at for infill development, thank you to the City Council for approving the BIG initiative. So the BIG initiative, which was the brainchild of Dan Kasich, Build and Invest in Guthrie. So this project, essentially what the city has done is we've hired an architect to design 10 pre-approved house plans. So you can come in and pick out a pre-approved house plan, which has already been reviewed for code compliance. If you have a lot somewhere to build a house, all you have to do is pick from one of our pre-approved house plans, pay for your permit, and you're ready to go. So all you need is a contractor. We've already designed the plans. They've already met code compliance. And the goal for this is to really target the infill development in downtown Guthrie. So if you look at most of the platted lots in downtown Guthrie are 25 feet wide. You're not building today's houses on 25-foot wide lots. So we've tried to accustom this plan to those lots or a combination of those lots. That is currently in the design phase. Should be live in January, I believe. And so if you want to learn more about that, Dan Cassick is your point of reference for that. Taking a look at a couple of the subdivisions that make up the 800 platted homes. Here's Mission Hills 2. There's a total of 307 lots, approximately 95.5 acres. Infrastructure's approximately 90% complete. The roads are there. In fact, they have some homes going up, so that's always great to see. Guthrie Farms, 388 total lots, 90 acres, and again, we've got homes going up there as well. Looking at final plat approval here relatively soon. This is located on Pine and University. Meadow Heights, so approximately 102 total lots, 74 acres. Again, we've got homes for sale, and that is out at Seward and Coltrane, which some may not be familiar with. It is near Liberty Lake. It is inside city limits. Hillcrest Farms, 60 total lots, grading complete, infrastructure is working on being installed, and that is near Summitview Cemetery. So those 4 subdivisions make up that 800 lot growth that you're looking at. We have multiple subdivisions just outside of city limits that will be a drain or a contributor to the city resources. So correct myself on that. Jump right into Public Works. I would have Public Works Director Timmy Baker up here to speak, although I believe he would have quit if I had asked him to do so. Public Works Department is made up of 35 full-time employees. We do everything from the convenience center, which is the solid waste collections, to fleet services, to managing your parks and pool. Taking a look at the operational stats here. Over the last fiscal year, we've had 856 line maintenance task responses, 760 street department, that could be potholes, it could be crossings, etc. 1,200 parks and cemetery responses, 155 tons of rock for grading and gravel roads, and 220 sewer lines were jetted. Currently have several openings in the Public Works Department. If you would like to check that out, please look at our website, cityofguthrie.com/jobs. Jump into economic development. It has been a great year for the City of Guthrie. Our top project here in the downtown corridor, funded completely by grant funds, a combination of T-Mobile Hometown Grant and the USDA Rural Development Grant. 7 retail spaces for a retail incubator space located at Oklahoma and Wentz. We have already graduated 2 businesses into permanent brick and mortar locations in the downtown core, which is huge. That's the retail incubator is working exactly as it was intended to. There's currently a wait list of 6 folks who would like to move into a shop as soon as possible. And we have started 2 recurring events out of the shops, the Downtown Downbeat, which follows the Red Brick Nights in the summertime, summer and fall, and then also the Downtown Farmers Market, which Tammy Riggs has headed up, and she has done a fantastic job. If you haven't been out to that, I encourage you to do so. Openings and highlights of 2023, a few here, Integra Shell Building, which is just down the road here on Division. Casey's General Store, it was the transition from the Star Stop to the Casey's. One of the fun things that Brittany, myself, and the mayor got to take part of this year was the Small Business Saturday feature. So the Small Business Administration came to town and wanted to highlight a few of our local businesses for Small Business Saturday. So myself, the mayor, Brittany, we did a walking tour and we visited the shops that we could get into. It was early on a Friday morning. Cleveland & Co., Rick's, Pollard's, the Licorice Man, and then we stopped at the shop. So we were featured in the Small Business Saturday edition from the SBA, which is great. That's great publicity out there on a nationwide level. In addition to that, businesses opened in the last year. There is a list here. Lots of businesses, lots of startups going on in Guthrie, and that's great. That's great for us to have as a feather in our cap for the City of Guthrie. One of our main assets that folks don't hear much about is the Guthrie Public Library. Guthrie Public Library is made up of 7 employees, and they vary in their services. So from checking out books to e-books to just allowing somebody a space to come in and work on something in a quiet space, we offer that at the Guthrie Public Library. Operational stats. Of the 51,000 folks in Logan County, this year we've served 38,000 of those. And that's great. In addition to that, more than 109,000 items are available for checkout. 4,000, nearly 5,000 of those are digital per month. Lots of programs going on, 24 family programs, 60 adult programs, 67 teen programs, 25 tween, 228 early childhood programs for a total of 385 programs with an attendance just shy of the total population. That's huge. That's great. So very proud of the library. Total list of events there as well. Taking a look at the Guthrie Edmond Regional Airport. If you're not aware, we share our airport with the City of Edmond. We've been doing that since 2004. We've had an agreement between the two. And how that works is the City of Guthrie owns the airport. We will always own the airport. However, for name purposes, the City of Edmond splits the operational cost with the City of Guthrie 50-50. So Edmond gets their name on our airport and they pay for half of the operations. Facts and figures. Currently have 122 total current tenants. We have 6 businesses that are operating out at the airport, 4 training programs, 4 annual events. Something I want to focus on is the economic impact of the airport. So I get a question many times, why do we have an airport? What's the point of the airport? Well, the city's budget for the airport, our portion annually is approximately $500,000, so $500,000. That $500,000 investment generates $19.2 million in total economic activity. That's a pretty good rate of return. I'll take that any day of the week on any city service. So that's a good number for us to focus on out at the airport. A couple of projects we've got planned. The most important one, the new terminal, which is currently planned for 2025. So this terminal would be the front door for folks coming out to the airport. We're currently waiting on some community project funding from Congresswoman Bice. She has requested $7.5 million to go towards this project. And with that, the City of Guthrie and the City of Edmond would match it with $500,000 to build a new airport terminal. So the airport terminal will be critical to our success in the future. The current airport terminal doesn't really fit the need of where we're headed. It got us here, it won't get us there. So looking ahead. Current projects that are in progress, several infrastructure projects. And so water and sewer remains at the top of our list for top priority items. And that is one of the questions we get the most is, what are you doing about water and sewer? Well, currently we have several projects in the pipeline. Division Street, we have a water main that has been worked on, should have been completed in March. I arrived in April and it's still ongoing. So we're working on that one. We also have other water main replacements. Council just awarded nearly 1.5 miles of water main west, on the west side of Guthrie, west of the viaduct. And that total project costs approximately $1.8 million. So we're doing less than 1.5 miles of water line for approximately $2 million. That's an astronomical number. Luckily, the staff was able to obtain a grant in the amount of $1 million from the Oklahoma Water Resource Board to apply to that project. Another legacy project we're currently working on, the wastewater treatment plant. If you're not aware, our current wastewater treatment plant was constructed in the 1940s. We were very close to being under a consent order from DEQ on that plant. So we're hoping to get the new plant up and operational as quick as we can, looking at a completion date for the new $20 million wastewater treatment plant in February of 2024. Lift station number 4, retrofit, which is located near Cotterell School. Total project cost on that is approximately $250,000, and that is simply a retrofit of an existing lift station and will tie into the project of the new Cotterell School. For quality of life projects, I'm going to turn it back over to Justin.
Let the city manager catch his breath. A few quick updates on a few projects. The Elbow Trail project. If you're not familiar with what's referred to as the Elbow, there's an old neighborhood that's been disconnected from the rest of the city by the Cottonwood Creek for decades. And we've got plans for and funding for a trail to give access to that area. Currently, we are waiting on approval for a cultural resource study. Quick backstory is any kind of federal funding that you receive these days, you have to have a cultural resource study approved by various levels of bureaucracy higher than Guthrie. So at this point, that project is waiting on approval for that study. The Owen Field Sports Complex enhancement and improvement, that is, our plans are about 60% finalized on that, and the bids will be going out for that project to add 3 new softball fields and some other amenities out there. Those bids will go out in the springtime, so that's going to be pretty exciting to see. Even with what's there now, when you see how many people use it and how many kids and adults are there with what we already have, it's pretty amazing to think about how that's going to grow once we add more to that project. One of the most long-running projects we've been looking at for feels like 20 years. Down on Division Street through downtown Guthrie, there's some sidewalk improvements. They're going to be occurring pretty soon. The short story of it is they'll be making that stretch through downtown on Division ADA compliant, so folks with special mobility needs will be able to experience our downtown more easily. Than, trust me, if you try to go through downtown Guthrie in a wheelchair, it is, you might think that it's easy, it is not. So that's going to make that experience so much better for those folks. The bids have already been awarded for that project, and construction should be starting in the springtime. All 3 of those projects are a combination of grant funds and local funds.
Looking ahead, so what's next? Downtown enhancement. So focusing our efforts on a thriving downtown district. So if you came to town during the Victorian Walk, you saw that there were a ton of people, especially the second weekend. We want to continue to build on what we do well here in Guthrie. We have the best downtown in the state, no doubt. Probably hands down the best in the nation, if I was going to say that. We are going to continue to encourage and drive that tourism. We want the folks to come and explore and see our downtown. And to do that, we're going to have to continue to recruit and work on some retail items. We're looking at working with Main Street America on a facade grant program, so help maintain some of these downtown buildings, which if you have been around Guthrie very long, you know that that is an issue. It is not cheap to own the buildings, it's not cheap to maintain them. We'll also be working on beautification projects. If you've been in the downtown corridor as of late, staff has worked on Christmas lights, wrapping our poles, putting up Christmas wreaths. So downtown, while the folks are here, we've really tried to embrace the Christmas spirit. Growing the I-35 corridor. This is an image of a retail recruitment from 2021, folks. Staff worked on a quick trip recruitment at Seward and I-35. We'll continue to work on commercial recruitment, business development, and retail recruitment. So I-35, the corridor, all the way from the first exit down to Seward, that will be a focus in the upcoming year. Capital improvement project sales tax. mentioned this briefly at the start of the luncheon. 2016, voters approved a 15-year, 3/4-cent sales tax, which has been vital to the success of some of our major community development projects. And what that funding mechanism is, it's 3/4 of a penny. Okay, so 3/4 of a penny have helped fund many projects. And so taking a look at these, what those success stories equate to: wastewater treatment plant, about $4 million in debt service on that $20 million project has come from that CIP. Fire department, the ladder truck, that ladder truck was in service the day it arrived. And had we not had that apparatus, we could have lost an entire block in downtown Guthrie. And so that's a huge, huge piece of our success. Police department was able to replace their patrol units. We replaced 10 patrol units. Prior to that, we had some outdated units which were unsafe for both the community and our officers. It funded the construction of Banner Park and Mineral Wells Park upgrades to include the splash pad as well as the pickleball and tennis courts at Mineral Wells and Highland Park. So those are major projects. Keep in mind, this is a 15-year tax. It's not complete yet, but these are projects you can drive down the road and see your CIP dollars at work. So, critical needs of the future. City Council is currently working with their CIP task force to identify the critical needs going forward. If you saw, we put out a survey last week. These are some of the projects we're looking at. Water and sewer system needs, of course, we're going to continue to replace the mains as we can. Where we can't do replacement, we're going to continue to do maintenance. Second fire and EMS station, that's something we're working on as well. Folks in South Guthrie, West Guthrie, and even Northeast Guthrie experience a longer wait time because of the location of our current station. So, community of this size, we do truly need a second fire station. Owen Field Sports Complex, to continue with what we originally had promised prior to inflation in 2020. Owen Field Sports Complex, we'd like to expand on Phase 1A. So perhaps it's 5 fields instead of 3, and just continue to drive that ball while we're still in the design phase. Highland Park Pool, the only community pool here was constructed in the 1940s. The long and short of the story on the pool is it's leaking 4.5 million gallons of water in about a 75-day time frame. That's a lot of water in this community, and unfortunately we don't have that water to lose. So if you've noticed, our neighbor to the south, Pelican Bay, they have also had a water loss issue, and the City of Edmond is addressing those issues at Pelican Bay as well. So CIP Task Force is working on what comes next for the Highland Park Pool. ADA accessibility improvements, you see the photo of the sidewalk there at First and Springer. That is what an ADA accessible sidewalk and approach looks like. It is the only one in the downtown core that is ADA accessible. So what's next for the capital improvements? We're currently talking possible sales tax extension. We would not be looking to increase any sales tax in the City of Guthrie. I think we're committed to that at this point. However, we will likely be coming in the future to discuss an extension of that existing sales tax. And what that would do is help us identify 5 to 7 projects we can nail down, fund on the front end, and then complete. And so that you can see your tax dollars at work. We're being good stewards of your money and actually working to repair the issues that have been long existing prior to all of us. At this point, we'll welcome any questions of any of the 4 of us. We thank you for your time today. I want to thank the staff. They've worked really hard on this presentation. They've also worked hard to complete the projects that you see in the presentation. So, Dr. Major and Meridian, thank you for allowing us to be here. Brittany with the Chamber, thank you as well. City Council, you've been awesome at supporting this team. We have a great staff here, but it's also the result of a great City Council who allow us to do the things that need to be done. And lastly, most importantly, the community, thank you guys for allowing us to be here and to serve you. And with that, that's all I've got.
disruption to a lot of the events we're going to have starting in the spring and running through the summer if that's not built? What sort of is the expectation?
Great question, Chris. We've been working on this project since 2013. So with the disruption, I'm sure we will have event disruption as well as traffic disruption. Unfortunately, there are going to be growing pains with any project we have, and so we'll work and do our best to minimize that disruption. But unfortunately, it will happen. So.
I didn't hear if you had a time frame for how long that's projected to take.
Yeah, at this time, estimated 6 to 12 months, depending obviously fair weather conditions. And so this is an ODOT contract. So it is a state contract. We are just a participant in this time frame.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'll ask one. What about traffic? So more people coming in, roads, what are we looking at traffic-wise? Accidents, better infrastructure, all that.
We'll let the chief answer that.
Chief will try to answer that. It's more of a concerted effort basically between us and Public Works. Public Works really stays on top of the signage, the detours, all that. They go out and they do their traffic study. So Tenny and his crew will more manage that. Unfortunately, I'll just be the one out there to enforce it. But it's on the radar. You just can't have that much growth without having a plan for traffic, detours, accidents. And, you know, we just have such wide roads in this town anyway, right? So it's always, anything we do is kind of a struggle, but we've always made it through, just like when we repaved Division, when we repaved Noble. Mainly thought the world was coming to an end, and it wasn't. And it's so nice now.
And I've heard that people who ride bicycles don't contribute to traffic congestion. That's what I've remembered.
That's what I was getting at. Thank you, Justin. Any other questions?
One more, sorry. Someone over there, go ahead.
First of all, I want to compliment the police department. All the vehicles looking the same is so nice in this town. It's very impressive. My question is for Justin. Is there any thoughts or anything about doing something like Muffler and Sons again? It was the biggest event in this town since 89ers back in the 60s and below. I know the city didn't make the money they could have off of it, but is there anything that does in the works? I mean, the town loved that.
It really was a brilliant event. In terms of kind of a side note to that question, the matching funds for the ADA sidewalk improvements, that grant is going down to Division starting soon. Those matching funds were from that revenue that the city received during that time. So that city revenue is making some improvements to the
My
city.
response to that was the $5 they charged for downtown that all went back to jam production. So that was where we had the loss of money. But is there anything like that in the future?
Well, speaking of the production company that put that on, that's the real kicker with those kinds of gigantic concerts. Is it takes a monumental amount of capital to put those together. If you look at that one page, that one slide of all these incredible events that happen annually in Guthrie, those are all put together and produced and organized by Guthrie people. That one particular event, even though Mumford & Sons was brilliant and a lot of fun, those were outside folks with mountains of money. And so I think that something like that will happen again someday, but it takes so much money to put on. It's not something that the city or probably any local event organizers could undertake because of that amount. It's millions and millions of dollars. I think it will someday, but that's a pretty unique, special thing to happen, a kind of generational event. But in the meantime, since Mumford & Sons, we have had a steady growing amount of locally produced events. And you add those up over time, 20 years of all these local folks adding these events to the calendar. And next thing you know, you've got this full calendar of events that cross the calendar start to look pretty similar in scope and impact of that one event that might happen every 10, 15, 20 years. Did that answer that question at all?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Chris?
Yeah, for Chief Lawson, you had mentioned the EMS subscription option coming up that starts this coming January, is that right?
Correct.
And that's for anyone in the Guthrie EMS coverage area, so including outside of city limits?
That is correct, yes.
Has there been discussion, I'm assuming you want as many people as possible to take up the city's offer on that. But has there been any discussion and partnership with the other areas, the other parts of the other townships that are covered but have not maybe, are they communicating that out? Is there a plan for getting that information out?
So as far as like reaching everyone to get the subscription free done? Yeah. So it's the first year that we're offering it. So we are getting on social media. Our billing company that we've been working with on this the last 6 months, they have a history of everyone that we have ran on, and they are going to mail them out flyers. I got an update yesterday that we've had about 20 people so far subscribe, but those are all online. She said that there will be a backlog of people that mail in subscription fees because not, everyone, technology world, not everyone's tech savvy today, but we're hoping that it really takes off, and then the more it gets put out by social media, I think we'll reach a lot of people. Maybe I can push you guys and Chris Evans over here to, spread the word for us. So we're hoping it takes off, and we're going to continue it until, no longer works.
And
How much could that roughly save an individual?
for the individual,
Yeah.
monumental savings.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Chief, do you have the figure?
So we did just raise our rates, like I was mentioning, and an ALS run, which is we got a paramedic service, and just say the patient was in respiratory distress, and we give some meds. That's going to be an ALS billed run, so that is like a $2,200 transport. Then we've got our mileage fee and all of that. So when you consider $100 and your insurance not covering that bill completely, it could save you some money.
For the household too.
Yes, also great point, Chris. So whenever the people do subscribe, say Chris was to subscribe to the program, his entire family under his household is covered. So if we come out there and transport, then they will be covered. So you don't have to do it by individual, it's just per household.
All right.
I have a question about the subscription. Sorry, email with the chamber. Is that subscription available to people who don't have insurance?
Unfortunately, it is not. You have to have insurance to qualify, and then another group of people that do not qualify are Medicaid patients. Those do not qualify either. We pulled the numbers on those, and that affects about 12% of the people we run on.
Sure, I can do that. Okay.
Chris is telling me what to say over there.
Anyway.
Oh, goodness.
Anyway, yes, first of all, I want to say thank you again. Let's give them a round of applause. So beneficial to have these annual meetings that you all can hear one-on-one. Of course, they're always available by phone and email and office visits, but we hope that this is helpful for you all. And this is something we've really tried to grow our legislative area in the chamber in the last 18 months or so, trying to have programming like this to allow you all some one-on-one time with our various leaders. So thank you guys again so much.